type of religion, right? So
the fact that we disagree shows that there's some kind of objective truth we're all trying to seek out.
that is a total non sequitur. There are people that disagree with whether Vegito or Gogeta would win in a fight in Dragon Ball GT, but that doesn't make them any more real. Just because two people disagree over a fictional thing doesn't necessarily mean that fictional thing might be real.
I don't hold people morally blameworthy based on the position they hold of who would win in a fight, Superman or Goku.
I would just like to point out, I think...
whatever you're going to say is wrong.
Well, I'm pretty sure Dragon Ball GT is not canon. Just letting you know.
Okay.
That's an objective fact.
Just letting you know.
Well, but if we argue over whether it is or isn't canon, apparently it becomes an objective fact.
Well, I reckon we ought to stick to the abortion topic. But
But I will take issue because you said that a couple times now. Just because two people disagree over something doesn't necessarily mean there's an objective fact of the matter, right?
I agree, but also it doesn't follow that just because people disagree that there is no objective fact.
Well, no, I never used that though. What I said was the inability to reconcile a disagreement means that there might not be an objective fact because there's no sensory organ that we have to perceive moral fact. Again, to the one example, husband hits a wife. How can anybody agree or disagree whether that ought to be a way that we discipline people? For instance, you said the
situation you described is underdeveloped. I'd ask, why did he hit his wife? How exactly did he hit his wife? If he hit her because she's gone crazy because of some kind of drug and is going to attack the children.
Hits him. He hits her because she disrespects him in public. Mm-hmm. She says something like, "My husband doesn't make the bed in the morning. Pisses me off." And then he slaps her in public.
And I would say that is wrong, even when society once said it was right.
But then another person disagrees with you.
Sure.
How do you reconcile the disagreement?
Well, we would go, and once again, I don't want to get too far away from abortion here, but we would go back to our basic framework for understanding morality. So if you look at natural law, for example, or just even basic intuitions.
We say natural law.
Yeah. Well, natural law is just things have a nature. They have a way where they flourish. We can see a good tree versus a bad tree non-morally.
Sure. But do you get worried that you run into weird naturalistic fallacies or assumptions there? For instance, it's natural for very young people to have sex before marriage, naturalistically, right?
Sure.
So how do you reconcile that with biblical law?
Well, I'm not even bringing the Bible into this. Okay. So like when I would look at, let's say, like what our organs are for, I would say, okay, well, what is sex? What does it do? It creates these pleasurable feelings, but it also involves the exchange of gametes, and that creates a biological human being. And people are going to, disagree when it has moral value, but allowed to continue to develop. Normally it will develop, and it's a very needy human being. Nearly everybody agrees that when it's born, this needy thing is going to die unless somebody takes care of it.
I agree. But backing up, there's a lot of other manipulations of sexual organs that don't involve the creation of a child.
Sure, but I don't want to derail us into talking about sexual morality, though that is an issue when it comes to abortion. I do think...
I will, real quick, just because it's a little... Because I understand that you set up a lot of questions for, intuition pumping, that kind of make my position sound insane.
You can ask me questions, too. That's fine.
But these are the questions that I'm more interested in, because you come from a position of moral authority where you believe that you have a set of objective facts that you want to argue in favor of. But my argument to you would be, I don't believe that you can ever prove an objective fact without diving into the Bible. There's no way that we can reconcile moral fact to disagreements, because we don't have a sensory organ to perceive it. We can argue over color, we can argue over gravity, we can argue over things we can perceive, but morality we can't perceive. We just have how we feel about it. And I don't think that's a satisfying answer for a lot of people.
And I would just say, if that were true, there's really no point in us talking about this at all right now. Like, you'd have to say it's not an objective fact. Like, is it an objective fact that the state should allow women to have abortions?
Is it an objective fact that the state should? Well, that should is doing a lot of work there. Should, with regards to my purported morals, I would say yes, it is, that they should be allowed to have an abortion.
Well, but it's not objective. You're just saying, I would really like...
We can have shoulds without them being objective, right? Or no?
Well, what you're saying here is that you would just like if the state did what you thought was good.
Correct.
What you agreed with.
Yes, correct.
Or not even what you thought was good, because that's a factual category. What makes you feel good if the world were that way?
Correct.
Okay. That's an opinion.
It is.
Okay.
That's why we argue with each other. But I believe at the end of the day, we're engaged in the same game. It just, I think that you feel like you're standing on more solid ground than you actually have.
I do think so. Here's another question. Mm-hmm. Do you think post-abortive women who think they are murderers, or women who mourn miscarriage, like it's the death of a baby, that they're deluded?
Not necessarily. No.
Mm-hmm. Do you think...
I think that when they're mourning, I think that they're mourning a missed opportunity rather than the thing itself, I think.
But if you asked them, women who've had abortions and say, I'm a murderer, or a woman who miscarries and says, my baby died. I think most of them wouldn't phrase it because some of those women may have also gone through periods of infertility. And I'm sure they would say their period of infertility was different than the death of the human being that was residing in their womb. So I guess let me put it to you this way.
What I'm saying is that I think if a woman miscarries or if she has an abortion and later comes to have regrets about it, I think that the feeling she has is probably not like, oh my God, there was that 3-week fetus and I terminated it. She's probably thinking like, there was a baby that could have existed. I could have delivered a baby. I would have had a child. There was a person there that's now gone.
Do you think those women ever say, I killed my baby, not something will
They
become?
probably, yeah.
Okay.
Probably say that.
Do you think a woman who says, I'm a murderer because I had my period and I expelled an egg from my body, she's like, I murdered a human being, do you think she's deluded?
If you thought you murdered a human being because you had a period?
Yeah, you passed an egg. It didn't get fertilized, and that egg died.
She's it's a loaded word, but I say she's probably deluded, yeah.
Why is she deluded?
I'm not even sure periods are part of normal human menstruation. Are you crying every month because you're murdering?
My point is that I agree.
But I would also, I would take the same intuitive answer and I would say, does a woman cry or feel bad when she accidentally has a slightly rougher period? She doesn't even realize that she's miscarried. Because there's a lot of miscarriages happen early on when women don't even know they're pregnant yet.
No, I agree. I am not saying that because an unborn human being is a person, that everyone who miscarries will react properly or react with intense grief. Okay. There's lots of born people that die we don't shed a tear for at all. There's people dying right now as we're talking. And okay. But my point is that if a human embryo prior to 20 weeks, would you agree that it has the same moral status as an ovum, an egg?
Same. I mean, they're different things, but yeah, roughly the same, I guess. Yeah. As a no moral status. Yeah.
Okay. So then I would say that if a woman we would consider her deluded or off the reservation, or, hey, there's nothing to get worked up over here. It was just an ovum. You're operating with a really mistaken sense of the world. It seems like under your view, we should have that same mentality towards post-abortive women prior to 20 weeks. But I think my view better aligns with most people's intuitions that the death of a human embryo or fetus is far, far different morally than the death of an ovum.
But they're not valuing that fetus, they're valuing what it would become. And again, I agree with what you're saying, but I think that you're skipping over really important steps. If I steal $10,000 from somebody, did I steal $100,000 from them? I didn't. But if I steal $10,000 from somebody when they're 20, maybe when they're 25, they're like, oh God, like if I would have invested this, or 27 over 7 years, maybe I could have had $100,000. So when they're 25, they might feel really bad. They feel like I should be $100,000 richer. But that doesn't change the fact that 7 years earlier, I only stole $10,000, not $100,000. So if somebody loses a fetus, they might feel bad because now they're missing the child that could have been. Much the same that if somebody would have connected with the right person earlier in life, maybe they could have had a wonderful marriage. But just because they're mourning the fact that they didn't meet a person at the right time doesn't mean they're suddenly divorced. The marriage never happened the same
you're
way
saying
that the child never
when
developed.
somebody grieves over a miscarriage at, let's say, 12 weeks, that's the same grief as like misconnections on Craigslist. Like, oh, he could have been the one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it up to our listeners to see if that is plausible. And the last one, I guess, just to make sure you're on the record on this, do you agree with laws that would make it illegal to kill wanted fetuses? Like, let's say a woman's pregnant, she's really excited, her boyfriend is like, I wanted you to get that abortion, and he slips her a drug, or he like kicks her in the stomach or something to kill the baby, to kill the unborn human being, and that human being dies, or he kills the pregnant woman, and this 12-week fetus dies along with her. In like 35, 38 states, and under federal law, that would be homicide for killing that unborn human being. Do you not agree with those laws?
Prior to 20 weeks, no.
Okay. Alrighty. So, and like I said, and I'm fine to pitch back over to you. You can interrogate. I have more for you. You can interrogate me also. I want to recap your view and what it leads to. Well, just to recap, it's permissible to kill infants who have not been conscious yet, to kill toddlers. Oh yeah, what if toddler loses all of his memories and they're not going to come back. He's at the same stage as like a 19-week fetus.
It's impossible. That's like asking me, like, are you killed when you teleport on Star Trek? I don't think I have an answer for that. I don't think it's a very difficult hypothetical. I think it challenges the concept of identity, but I don't know if that gets into like a human life or not a human life. If we're talking about deleting somebody's memory and resetting their brain to 19 weeks.
But why does it? Because I guess here is, what if I gave you this argument? Hold on, I have here, because the symmetry argument you were making, I feel like it is, I can make a better one that runs on the same principles.
Okay.
So what about this argument? A person stops, I don't endorse this for everything, but let's just do it for this discussion.
Okay.
A person stops existing when future conscious experience becomes impossible for that individual.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
When future conscious experience becomes impossible for that individual, yeah, they lose the ability to have a conscious. Yeah, sure.
All right. So a person stops existing when future conscious experience becomes impossible for that individual. Number two, a person exists as long as future conscious experiences are probable for that individual.
Well, they had one prior, yes. Because otherwise, that sentence is meaningless.
Then why don't I add this rider to it then? And any conscious experiences they have must be psychologically connected to any previous experiences.
Maybe. It's just the sentence that you gave. A person exists as long as future conscious experience is possible. So you've got the future conscious experience in there, but when you say a person exists, that person, I think, begs the conscious experience, because I don't know what it means for a person to exist if there is no conscious experience yet.
I'm just trying to do the exact same symmetry argument you're doing. That if you